What is up, Chuck? Okay, let me see. All right, cool. I have this super amazing tripod of a box thing and a water bottle. So, sparkling water. Refreshing. 0 calories. Yum, yum, yum. Oh man. It is overcast. It is humid. It rained a little bit earlier. And my emotions match the weather. Like, it's not storming, but it just feels like there's this heaviness. And that is currently how I'm feeling. Maybe this will sound silly. I have never personally been impacted by a celebrity's death ever before in my life. But there was something that really struck a chord with me when Ozzy passed last week. And maybe it's because I'm a fan of his music. Maybe it's because me and him share a birthday. Maybe it's because that music reminds me of my teens and family and growing up and things like that. Maybe because I was really into Ozzy's music again whenever I was going through my divorce in 2022. Whatever the reason, Ozzy and Black Sabbath has kind of been a close to home thing for me. And so I've just been feeling a little bit sad and just mournful. And that feels odd to say because I never met him. I never met him in person. Years ago, a girl I was friends with worked at a bookstore, and he was doing a book tour, going around doing signings and all that. And he was in the store that she worked at in our small little town, and it was like such a big deal because it's like nobody ever comes to this town, and yet we have this like massive rock star in our bookstore. And she was just working that day. I don't even know if she knew that he was going to be in that day. But she says that Ozzy bumped into her and like pretty forcefully on accident. And he turns around and he like grabs her shoulder and like touches her hand. And he's like, "I am so sorry, love. Are you okay?" in his accent. And she said that it was just, she's like, there was just something about that. It was such a warm interaction. So I'm feeling like I've lost a family member. And it's a very weird feeling. I've also been kind of just going through some changes and just kind of letting myself process that. I haven't really been on social media at all. There's just too much going on in the world, and I want to have more brain power to focus on the graphic novel that I'm writing and on adjusting to this new position that I've just taken at my job. So I'm very focused on my goals and getting somewhere. So I will be posting this video, and I'll be sharing it on my Instagram story, and I'll link it on my profile. But I probably won't be too terribly active on Instagram for a while. I may see a dip in follower count, but honestly, I'm okay with that because I need to work on the comic, and I am, but I want to have more energy to do so. And what I have noticed, and I can only speak for myself, but what I have noticed is when I spend hours scrolling through things, not only am I tired after, but it's like I lose any steam that I would have had to get anything done for that day. So I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to scroll endlessly. And it's really tricky thing to be a small creator with a small art account, who wants to grow that following and wants to network and genuinely loves interacting with all the people that I get to meet online, but also having a boundary in place so that I'm not just scrolling nonstop and just sucked into it. And if you're unaware, Instagram has a lawsuit against it. This has kind of been bad press for them for a while, but Instagram is like the number one cause of teen depression and self-image issues and things like that, understandably. Nothing that I follow or interact with is like influencers or people showing off their bodies or outfits or anything like that. It's artists, musicians, and politicians. That's really all I see. But even that, like, it tends to skew towards the negative, and I can't do it. So, especially since I'm trying to really grow as a person right now. Growth is really the most important thing. And what do I mean by that? Earlier this month I got a gym membership. I haven't gone a whole lot, but it was the fact that I finally got off my ass and got over the fear of going to the gyms and just decided, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm 80 pounds down, but I've stagnated with my weight loss, and I want to take it to the next level. And so at some point I will be getting with that gym to see about personal trainers and all that, because I'm a little inexperienced with some of the machines, and I want help, you know. They have a pool, so I'll probably be doing a lot of laps, and they have a sauna, which I love the sauna. So that's one area. The other thing is completing the graphic novel. But then also just kind of getting used to being back in office. Like a lot of people, my job, the place I work for, has shifted to getting everybody who was at home back into the office. And I left the team that I was on that was work from home, so I kind of jumped back into the office a lot sooner than my old team has. But still, being in the office when you've been at home for 3 years, that's a major adjustment. You know, your energy levels are depleted. You're more tired at the end of the day. It takes more time out of the day because there's a commute, even though mine's barely a commute at all. But it eats away time because you have to spend all that time getting ready in the morning and then at night prepping for the next day. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that takes up your mental space, and trying to get organized around that and still have time for creative pursuits is kind of hard. It is kind of hard. So I've just been struggling with that, and I've also just been struggling with kind of processing some deeper emotions. I mean, I am somebody who is diagnosed with complex PTSD, and dealing with that, you know, I've made a lot of headway when it comes to healing, or what people call healing, and I'm very grateful for that. But that doesn't mean that there aren't still periods of time where things are hard, and things were particularly hard for me recently. You know, Father's Day was either last month or it was July, I don't remember, but this was one of the first years since reestablishing my relationship with my father that I hadn't said Happy Father's Day. And the reason I didn't do this was because of the fact that I realized he never acknowledged my birthday on time. He would always forget. And I finally just had a heart-to-heart with myself, and I realized I don't want to keep making excuses for this person, and I don't want to keep allowing somebody who doesn't treat me like a priority. I don't want them to be a priority in my mind. So it's not that I have any ill will or anything like that. I've detached, and I'm someone who, you know, my emotions are normally so damn intense that feeling detached almost feels like an alarm bell's going off in my head. But everything is fine. I'm growing as a person. And when you grow as a person, you grow in directions, right? And sometimes that means growing away from who you once were or who you once associated with. And that's an uncomfortable thing. So that's kind of where I'm at on the page. You know, my dad recently sent my brother some very hateful messages, with the most vulgar language, calling him stupid, just insulting everything that he could. And we don't know what triggered this. We have no idea. My brother was making a joke about it. I kind of thought it was funny too, but it's not funny. It's, you know, it's sad. It's really, really sad. And my best friend and I were talking about it, and he told me, you know, he's like, it's sad that y'all's father will never actually know you two. It's sad that your dad doesn't know you, talking about me. And my friend Alex, he went on to say, what a blessing and what an inspiration I am to him. We've been friends for 20 years. And so the feeling is very much mutual. But it's hard when you have a parent who's an alcoholic, who thinks that the entire world is his enemy, is against him, and he cannot see himself properly. And more than that, he can't see his impact on the people closest to him. So he has no understanding, and won't understand that my silence, my distance, isn't a punishment, and it isn't to be unfair, to be cruel or anything. It's because I've realized that I was putting in all the work to maintain and rebuild the relationship. And quite simply, I don't want to do that if I'm the only one doing that. If two people are supposed to carry a couch, but only one of them is lifting the couch, that's a lot of dragging of this additional weight while the other person just kind of stands there. And that's unfair. And eventually you'd get tired. Your body gives out. You get tired, you get frustrated. You're like, you know what, I'm not doing this no more. And you put it down. And then you walk away from it, or you sit on the couch, you know what I mean? And that's more or less where I'm at with it. So, life is otherwise pretty good. Everything that's going on politics-wise is very concerning. I don't agree with the current administration at all. I don't like anything that's happening. I disagree with what's happening to Hispanic people, to people that aren't white, to women, to people who are, poor, disabled, whatever. There's a lot of things that are just, bills or whatever you want to call them, whatever, executive orders, all the things are being passed, and 90% of them are negative towards average, everyday American citizens, and benefits people that are extremely wealthy or that are business owners, but does little to actually help us. And if you ever want to talk about, don't tread on me, or no taxation without representation, or my bare arms, or all that shit, like we're right there. And I'm pretty disappointed as a lifelong Southerner. I'm pretty disappointed in the people that I know that are not paying attention and that are not ballsy enough to stand up against tyranny, to say the least on all of that. I have a lot more I could say. And so, but that is something that weighs pretty heavily on my mind as well. And I fear for people. In fact, I had, sorry, there's a bug on me. I have neighbors that are, I guess you could call them immigrants. They're not from the typical countries that you would think of. But they're here probably on a work visa, I want to say. And they were gone for 2 weeks, and I didn't see their vehicles, and the grass was starting to grow. And that made me really scared for them. And then when they finally came home, I was very, very relieved. But yeah, that kind of thing sits on my mind too, is, what's going to happen to people, and where are we going as a country? Where are we going economically as a country? As the prices of things go up and up and up for food, cars, utilities, housing, all of it. As all of it goes up, and we find evidence after evidence of like fraud with different things, such as Mitch Vexler, and the property tax fraud that's happening nationwide. He's raising a big stink about that right now, and has is bringing a court case, putting it all together as we speak, about how they basically cooked the book and fudged the numbers to inflate people's property values, and that's why property taxes keep going up, and that's why little old ladies and grandpas are being kicked out of their mortgage that they've, of the homes that they've owned for 20, 30 some odd years, because these property taxes are going up and up on houses that are paid off at a market value when these houses aren't being sold, so there's no market gains to be realized. It's crazy. And that's just one example. I could really go on. You have people out here with car payments as high as like $1,500, $2,500, for terms of like 5 to 6 to 7 to 10 years or whatever for a car. You have all this crazy credit card debt, and it begs the question, you know, a very obvious question, but it begs the question, why? Why is it that we are in so much debt and that things are so hard? And it's like, well, former business student here, I have an interest in economics. It's because of wage stagnation. It's because of wage stagnation. You know, people aren't getting paid anything. And I disagree with that. You know, we're getting milked. There's nothing left. And they're looking around at women my age and they're like, how come you're not having children? And it's like, how can I? How could I take care of myself, let alone them? And more than that, what sort of world are we creating for working class people like me? For people that would be my children? What kind of world are we creating? What sort of promise is there? I don't think purging people of a different skin color, different belief systems, or whatever is going to make this country better in any sort of way. It's just going to make it worse. And anything that is in argument or in favor of all that stuff are not people I really want to be associating with, to be honest with you. And I don't care if it's alienating. I would like it to be alienating. I would like to be alienated from people that don't care about the suffering of others. And that's the full sentence. You can put it down and mail it off. Put the envelope down and mail it off. So that's kind of where my mind's been at with a lot of different things. I have been sort of checked out from my social media, but that doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention to what's going on. That doesn't mean that I'm not still looking for ways that I can do something. But for right now, like, I do need to just kind of focus on my own wheelhouse. And for me, that looks like getting a good handle on establishing a routine with this new job and kind of just figuring out my shit, you know? Getting on a good workout schedule, getting on a good schedule for storyboarding to get chapter 1 done and finalized and sent so that people can purchase it online. Getting my art brands off the ground and selling stuff. Like, all of those things are more important to me than follower counts or, you know, avoiding FOMO, fear of missing out. So it's uncomfortable because we're conditioned to be on social media and we're conditioned to succumb to the things like FOMO, but I don't want to do that. I want to make a lot of progress during this time, because there's one thing that Ozzy's passing and just the current circumstances of life have taught me, and that is we really don't have forever. Our time is finite, and what we do with our time absolutely matters. And so even though, like, I'm tired and I just want to lay down, I decided I would make this video to talk to you, whoever's watching, just touch base. So yeah, anyway, I hope you're doing well, and I'm sorry if this was a really boring video, but hopefully it wasn't. Hopefully, you know, you clicked on this and maybe felt a little bit less alone with whatever you're going through. Maybe you were affected by Ozzy's passing, or Hulk Hogan, or all the other people that I keep hearing about. It's been a week, man. Maybe you were affected by that. Maybe you're affected by what's happening economically, or, you know, politically with everything that ICE is doing. Like, maybe, you know, there's some heaviness on your heart as well. And so if there is, just know that you are not alone, and you have more power and more agency to do something about it. Someone's dog got out, I think. I don't know if you can hear that or not. She's like screaming for a dog. But anyway, yeah. I think we're all gonna be okay. But we live in a weird world, so I just wanted to update you on my life, and I hope that whatever's going on, you have a good week as best as you can, and just remember to take that time for yourself, and that, again, you really do have a lot more agency and control over things than maybe even you yourself would believe. So that is all. I appreciate you for being here. I'm gonna drink my melting water and enjoy what's left of my weekend. So, all right, cheers. Bye.